Hi everybody, hi soul family. I know that no one's on yet, so I'm saying hi to nobody just yet, but I do know that people will be arriving. And I'm just gonna wait a second till a couple people show up so we can talk about twin flames. Just give it just a second. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope that anyone who's in the process of awakening is doing all right with the purging process, so to speak. Like I said, I'm just going to wait till a couple more people arrive, but then we'll get right into it. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that I've called in sacred space. However you choose to call in sacred space is completely up to you. That's whatever your heart resonates with. I've called in unconditional love, so I'd like to offer that to you in whatever space you're in right now, or if there's a different way you like to call in space, please feel free to do so in whatever way resonates with your own heart. Also, a couple of things to just address right at the beginning before we get into twin flames. One is, this is a platform where I tend to get a lot of views, but if this is information that resonates with you or you want to support my channel, I will be uploading this onto my YouTube channel, which is Luminous Body Mission of Love and Light, and the more people that are willing to subscribe and support that, the better that it helps me out, so that's really wonderful. And thank you for those of you who already are subscribed and follow that. This will get uploaded on there later, but this is right now Facebook Live session. Also, I'm trying to make sure that I address everything right at the beginning. It's hard for me to cover some of the things like donations, but I do have a PayPal page. If you feel so inclined, you're more than welcome to donate. I'll include a link, but if you're unable to do so, please know that this information is free, and this is information that I've gathered from a lot of different sources. I will go over some of that here in just a second, but just offering to see what resonates with you, and know that there's a lot of different ways to potentially validate this information if any of it does or does not resonate with you. In regards to my history, just as far as the Twin Flame Collective goes, the first time I was ever introduced to the concept of twin flames was probably about 2 years ago, which was, interestingly enough, during a time when I was falling in love with someone. And so I'm not surprised that, of course, as I'm in the process of falling in love with someone who was really, really balanced with me in a lot of different ways, that really resonated and led me to feel like it was probably something I should research a lot. So I researched it a lot. I researched it in a lot of different directions, and aspects of it really heavily resonated with me, and other ones really didn't resonate so heavily with me. And some things that resonated with me a year ago, I feel like I've kind of graduated to a different way of thinking than where I was thinking about twin flames a year ago. So we'll discuss all of those things a little bit, and then potentially how the twin flame experiment feeds into or connects with the free will experiment, essentially the free will of planet Earth. So in regards to twin flames, I don't know, first of all, as far as people that listen to this page, as far as people who are watching my videos and things like that, we have a very wide variety. And for some people, twin flames are very old news. They've listened to this lots. They're just listening to this to kind of get a different perspective. Whereas for other people, this is a brand new concept where they've never even heard the words twin flames, or if they've heard the words twin flames, they just don't even have any clue what they're hearing, so it's not really registering. So I am going to offer this information as though it's a fresh slate for someone who's never ever heard this information before. That doesn't mean that if you have heard lots of information on twin flames that you're not going to be able to get lots of new information from it. Just understand that this is designed to help educate someone who is very, very new to the concept. So, and I'm going to turn off this heater in the background. I just realized how loud that probably is. So, in regards to twin flames, just as far as introducing the concept, a lot of people really resonate with it being similar to the concept of soulmates. And I'm going to tell you what I would consider the difference here. For me personally, how I register a soulmate in my life, which I've had many, many, I don't register that necessarily as like my long-term forever partner, the person I'm supposed to be with for the rest of all time and eternity or anything. Soulmates, in my definition and the way that I've come to understand them, are those who have really pushed me throughout my life to grow the most. These are really profoundly important, really profoundly important connections, energetic bonds that we create with others. And sometimes these are really, really positive bonds. For example, and many people who watch me hear me talk about some of these people, but my grandfather, he is one of the greatest soulmates I've ever had. He really, really helped me to become the best version of myself. And no matter how, well, I shouldn't say to become, I'm still working on it, but he was always encouraging me in ways that were very motivational and never shaming. He never made me feel like because I can improve every single day doesn't mean that where I'm at right now is shameful or that I'm not doing good enough. I always felt like just an intrinsic level of love from him, and yet he could always help me be encouraged and motivated in a positive way that that made me want to grow. So great soulmate. Another great soulmate is the tiny person, the tiny human that I built, Lucas. As soon as I met him, first of all, well before I met him, by the time I even found out I was pregnant, all of my life decisions started to change. I realized that I was eating for more than myself, that I was breathing for more than myself. Even the places I was going to breathe were going to be different. I was going to expose myself to different circumstances because my breath was important at that time. The places where I was going to put myself, even if they ended up being places that I wasn't exactly loving in that moment because I was pregnant, I was at least conscious of the fact that it was more important because I was pregnant. And yes, my eating habits, my everything changed during that time. And then I started thinking differently about how I wanted to treat myself. So yeah, he was great even before I was born, and that's nothing compared to after meeting him, after realizing what I had just accomplished with my beautiful, amazing goddess body that I gave no credit to before that. I absolutely hated almost everything about myself. And I built a human. It's pretty freaking awesome. Well, every single day since then, I've been working on being a better person. And not to say I wasn't before that, but he definitely took that level of devotion to self-love and learning how to love myself. He took that up a lot of notches. So yeah, I'd call him a pretty awesome soulmate probably. But there's also really challenging soulmates. We have people have heard me talk about this one before. We all have, I shouldn't say we all have siblings. There's plenty of only children out there, but many people are familiar with the concept of sibling rivalry. Well, arguably my greatest rival when I was growing up, we have no angst between us now as adults. If anything, probably just as neutral as could be. But there was a lot of challenge when I was a kiddo, and I would have called him my arch nemesis per se. And yet I can look back and I see how much I grew and how strengthened I was and how challenged I was and how motivated I was in a lot of different situations due to that little bit of rivalry there. A lot of rivalry there. Also, even potentially really traumatic things that I don't want to necessarily take the blame for, because it's not a blame game, shame game, but things that I don't want to believe things have happened to me in my life without me having any energetic or soul control over them. I believe every single thing I've gone through, even the worst traumas, even ones that would arguably not be my fault, I like to, and not just like to, it resonates with my heart and soul heavily. That those are situations which, especially the biggest ones, especially the most traumatic or the most growth experiences, I'm pretty sure my soul had a say in those decisions and those growth opportunities, and it's up to my person to decide whether to grow from those or to let them keep me from growing, restrict me from growing. However, I believe that I have had a say in every single one of those decisions, and those people that are involved in those particular circumstances that would be potentially like the bad guy or whatever, not really bad guy, I don't like that term, but in those stories, also soulmates in my opinion. As far as the way that I define a soulmate is someone who has helped me to really, really grow. And the epic novel of Anna Sophia's life, and the epic novel of what is me becoming my own hero and my own hero's journey, there's a whole lot of different characters in that story. I mean, and not all of them were dark characters, not all of them were light characters, and not all of them were the ultimate bad guy, not all of them were just, I mean, they play a very complex set of roles, but most of them that really, really, really left an anchor, those are people that I would consider soulmates, for better or worse. Now, so that's my idea of soulmates. Twin flame, very different. Now, I'm going to kind of skip to another concept, and then we'll come back to twin flames because it's kind of the in-between guy. As far as the term, sending you love too, by the way. As far as higher self goes, a higher self is, there's a lot of different ways that this concept can be explained as well, but I want to explain it in a term that resonates with both my spiritual side and also my scientific side, and I'm going to see if it resonates with you as well. Most of us know, or at least familiar with the concept, that time is relative. It genuinely is relative. It's been proven that whether or not it was theory at the time that Einstein was alive, we know that, I'm going to use an example from a movie. It's a great movie. If you guys have seen Interstellar, this is a great visual concept of how time flexes and bends. And this is based on, even if the movie itself is not a real story, it is based on mathematical calculations that are absolutely based in physics. And there's a point in the movie where they go to a planet that's very close to a super black hole, or a massive black hole, a supermassive black hole, excuse me. And because they are on this planet that's so close to this black hole where the time would bend and stretch differently, I think they said 1 hour on this planet is something like 7 years back on Earth. And that is based on real calculations. There are places in our galaxy that the time bends and stretches differently than it does here. And you might even notice in your own experience that you suddenly notice 15 minutes gone, and then in a different situation that you're absolutely miserable, 15 minutes feels like 2 hours. Time bends and stretches. It's relative based on your consciousness and based on the gravitational pull of things that are around you. That being said, we know that there is a point in the future, with time being relative, there is a point in the future where the highest, most advanced version, the most evolved version of you exists. Not me, not somebody else, not any of these other souls. I don't even care if they're the greatest teachers in history. There's the most advanced version of you that exists somewhere on this infinite spectrum of relative time, okay? And then you've got you here. So somewhere between where you are here, right in this very moment, and your future self, your most advanced version of yourself, which, first of all, side note, that version of yourself, that higher self version of yourself, they have your best interest at heart. That is if you're looking to some version of yourself for advice, that version of yourself is always going to have your ultimate best interest at heart. Now, it's my belief that your ultimate best interest is in the best interest of humanity. So if you're always asking your higher self, what is the best thing for you? It's going to give you the highest possible outcome for yourself, which is most likely also going to be the highest outcome for humanity, because we are so ridiculously interconnected. However, even if you just want to focus on how to help you, look to your higher self. Your higher self is the most evolved version of yourself, and it's certainly going to have your best interest, your growth, your evolution of consciousness at heart. Now, somewhere between that version of you and the version of you that's sitting here today listening to this video, there's other fractalized variations of the self. And right now, the version of yourself that exists here on Earth within the third dimension, or arguably within the third dimension, is experiencing an illusion, experiencing a holographic illusion that is changing all the time, and it's based on all of the other co-creators around you. So that those co-creators are not just limited to other humans, they're also limited to Mother Earth herself. She is a living organism, just like a coral reef is a living organism with lots of other organisms that live intermingling with it, cohabiting with that organism. We are organisms that are cohabitating with Mother Gaia. Mother Gaia is in an ascension process, which means that she is evolving, which I challenge anybody to tell me that she hasn't at the very least earned her ascension. She's been pretty freaking selfless for all of her existence. Mother Gaia is ascending, and if Mother Gaia is ascending, the rest of humanity is going to be ascending as well. And in an illusionary world where a lot of different aspects of free will have been manipulated, and free will is not a manipulatable thing as far as the universe is concerned. It certainly is with karmic repercussions, but free will is not optional. It's not really negotiable, and when people are manipulating it, or beings or entities are manipulating it, especially for a long period of time, the cosmos take it pretty seriously. They take it personally, excuse me, and there's a lot of different beings. So I am getting now into the twin flame aspect of things. So there's a lot of different beings that have a vested interest in our future. I mean, I would say really all beings in the universe have a vested interest in our future. Even if they're service to self beings, there's only so long you can be service to self before you must unify with others and recognize that we are a unified field of consciousnesses throughout this universe. We are all connected, and if one planet is suffering, it affects an entire galaxy, an entire universe, all of the galaxies. We are all connected. So the theory goes, I will say that this is a theory that resonates with me. You in no way have to accept this as fact. Even if you just consider it like parable or something, I would offer you to at least listen to the potentiality, because there's a lot that can be learned here about how we can heal as a team, as a humanity, whether or not you resonate with this as fact. But to me, this does resonate as fact, that a planet that was in duress because of the fact that it's being really, really heavily manipulated in a universe where that's just simply not allowed, especially for, centuries and generations, that a call for help went out. And in this call for help, many, many beings which have advanced in their level of consciousness beyond a third dimensional realm would care. They care. They'd want to come back and help, because they recognize not only is this, similar to their siblings or their like a younger brother or younger sister, but it is actually literally fractal versions of themselves. That's how our universe works. So do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That is in a way kind of a selfish thing, because we are all fractal versions of one another, okay? And even if you take that out of the equation, we all have these things called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are neurons that are inside of your neural network that get very, very confused. They might seem kind of silly, kind of dopey, but they're really, really, really magnificently helpful neurons. And what these neurons do is they get really confused. Whatever you're doing unto others, these mirror neurons believe is happening to them in that moment. So for example, if you're bullying someone, if you're being mean to someone or cutting them down, these mirror neurons process it literally as though somebody else is bullying you. So if you go out and serve others and you find ways to help humanity, these mirror neurons receive that information as though you are being selflessly served by someone else. Your neural network processes it that way. So even if you don't want to believe that helping other people is helping yourself, at least know that from a scientific perspective, your neural network is receiving it that way. You are still benefiting yourself, even if you're not looking at it from a cosmic perspective. But from a cosmic perspective, we are all walking mirror neurons, and everything that we do to others is actually genuinely happening to us. So when these higher level beings see a call for help like this, it's self-serving and selfless simultaneously to come answer that call. And in this fractal universe where we have this higher self version of ourselves that's the most advanced version of ourselves, and then we have this current version of ourselves that's hanging out, watching Anna, or being Anna, or whatever, all of these versions of ourselves on this spectrum, well, I shouldn't say all of these versions. There is a version of ourselves on this spectrum that would exist in the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimensional aspect of ourselves is an electromagnetic being that understands unity consciousness, that we are all one being, that we are all like drops in an ocean. And this is an example I've used, I've heard many times. It's like we're all drops in the ocean, and God is the ocean. We're all drops of this ocean, so we're all aspects of God. But it's also like we have the entire ocean within that single drop. We are God, and we are part of God simultaneously. Just like that, a fifth dimensional electromagnetic being, which is completely advanced to the point of unity consciousness, can separate into two aspects of itself, an electric charge and the magnetic charge, light and love, divine masculine and divine feminine. Now, the electric aspects of self, which are considered your masculine aspects of self, these are the go get it, the charge, move forward, the protective aspects, those instincts versus intuition, versus magnetically allowing things to be drawn into our field, allowing the world to bring abundance into our force field, so to speak. These are different aspects of the same coin, and in a twin flame, I don't want to say a twin flame couple, because a common misconception is that they're always romantic. That is definitely not the case. That's a huge cherry on top for some, but ultimately it's a partnership, a team connection that is sometimes like siblings, sometimes it's business partners, sometimes it's strictly like spiritual motivational partners, and sometimes it's a husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife, or however you want to look at it. There's many, 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 many different ways that a twin flame pair, a twin flame combination, is capable of fractalizing out into an environment. However, they will always, always, always acquire over the period of a lifetime a very specific and balanced set of skills. Now, what I mean by that is so first of all, as far as the twin flame thing goes, not everybody is a twin flame, or maybe everybody is a twin flame. I'm not entirely sure whether everybody's a twin flame or not. What I do know is if this really heavily resonates with you, if twin flame thing resonates with you, pretty darn sure you are one. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that doesn't mean that there's something better about being a twin flame or not being a twin flame or anything like that. It's just good to have general knowledge and information about different kinds of sentient beings that are on our planet. And in regards to the electric and magnetic energy, for example. So you're not going to have one of the twins be 100% masculine and one of them be 100% feminine. We all have a little bit of integrated aspects of both of these things for sure, especially over potentially the period of a bunch of lifetimes. You may have even had lifetimes where you've been a man, lifetimes where you've been a woman, lifetimes where you've been a little bit of both of those things. But overall, one of the twins is going to be gathering a whole lot more electric aspects, and one of the twins is going to be gathering a whole lot more magnetic aspects versus, so the feminine, or the masculine aspects versus the feminine aspects. And when two twins meet one another, there will be an energetic, a profound moment. For whatever reason, it might look different for everybody. I know that the first time I met another twin, prior to actually even knowing what this was, it literally felt like planet Earth stopped spinning. I did not know how to gain my bearings. It was a very profound energetic experience, and at the time I was definitely not on any kind of, I don't drink or do any kind of drugs or anything, but I certainly wasn't even then. It was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that what is happening? I don't even know what's happening right now. This is a very profound experience. Now, like I said, in a twin flame couple or a pairing, you're going to gather a very specific skill set. And so what you'll find as you start to share stories is that you'll have really, really interesting balanced lives, either like very, very similar family, but totally opposite communities that you grew up in, or very similar communities, but totally opposite families that you grew up in, or one of you grew up fiercely religious while the other grew up in an atheist household, and yet for whatever reason there would be so many inner aspects that would feel the same in spite of the fact that you may have been having such totally different experiences outwardly. So you're going to find that that it's like, you've got these opposite experiences, and then this little area that's in the middle is shared experiences. And what that mathematically is creating throughout an energetic experience is called a torus. A torus is an energetic force. It's what, I guess, I don't know if it would call it force, but so a torus is what galaxies spin in around their black holes. Toruses are when you have a gyroscope, one of those little toys I'm sure most of you have played with at some point, where you throw around the weight in your hand and it goes really, really kind of funky, creates an energy like this. That is a very, 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 very sacred, energetic combination. And essentially, you can see this. I don't know if you guys can see my yin-yang right here. But a yin-yang is basically a two-dimensional torus. If you were to take the shape that's created by the electric and the magnetic energy as it's throwing around this weight and everything's meeting in the middle, and if you were to plop it down into a two-dimensional space, that is what it would look like. Is just like a yin-yang. A yin-yang, which is one of the most recognizable symbols in all of planet Earth, is actually symbolizing something that is a much broader pattern of energy than the simplicity that they've coded it down to. Just like a Star of David, just like a tetrahedron. Star of David is a two-dimensional Merkaba. This here is a three-dimensional, or a two-dimensional torus, excuse me. Now, everyone in the twin flame connective field is creating a torus together. That is it's a beautiful, beautiful energetic pattern that's being created all throughout planet Earth. This is the shape. This is the energetic field that we are creating to help wipe and clean a lot of the energies and the matrices that have been manipulatively placed on our planet. But to a really deep personal level, you're going to experience this with, if you're a twin flame, or if this is something that resonates with you, with another human being, or at least another soul. You'll experience this with another soul. And in the process, one of the things that I've noticed is that people tend to get really kind of obsessive once they hear the term twin flame and it resonates with them, or once they are, in my case, falling in love with someone and then they hear it and it's like, oh my gosh, this explains everything. It's easy to obsess over having another person. And like, this person has to complete me. If I don't find this person, I'm not going to be able to accomplish my life purpose. If I don't find this person, I'm not going to be able to become my best self or reunite or anything like that. And it becomes not just an obsession, but it actually negatively impacts the spiritual growth, because people forget the path towards self, the self-reflection, the self-realization. And so in this process, people often find themselves having one of two different kinds of experiences that are kind of one and the same. And I'm not saying this is everyone's experience. I mean, if you're with your twin, that is so freaking awesome. Good for you. But not everyone who's with a twin flame, is with their own twin flame. And many people do believe that, because once they both resonate with the concept of the twin flame experiment, and they're together, then they say, well, certainly we must be each other's twin flames. And they might even have a bunch of shared experiences or balanced experiences. And so it feels so obvious, like we must be twin flames. Well, I want you to know that almost anyone who is a way shower, who has planted themselves into a life where they would feel so out of place that they don't almost know what to do with themselves, you're going to resonate over a lot of shared frequencies. You're going to share a lot of different experiences. And if you're both twin flames, that's freaking beautiful that you found each other, because you are going to help each other grow through one of the most profound times in human history. That said, if you're a twin flame and they're a twin flame, that does not mean you are each other's twin flame. It does mean that you both resonate with the twin flame experiment, and there's a ton that you can learn from the process of understanding energetic and magnetic energy so that you can find your own 0 point. So the point that I'm getting at here is, whether you heard about it years ago, whether you heard about it today for the first time, either way, you must unify as one soul before you can truly unify with your twin flame. It is a personal process of self-unification, no matter what first. And this, by the way, goes for every person on planet Earth. Whether you're a twin flame or not a twin flame, whether the twin flame thing is totally bogus. I actually had one person ask me before this video, is this like a new religious thing? Probably. I'm sure people turn almost anything into a religion that they want to, and there's probably some people who are that into it, I guess, but certainly not for me anywhere near that. It's a beautiful philosophy that I understand and I resonate with heavily because of some of the experiences that I've had on Earth. But ultimately what I've come to realize is that anytime I get too obsessive about the twin flame concept, I forget about my own inner goddess, my own inner God, my own inner unification, my own inner 0 point. When you are capable of achieving your own inner 0 point, the soul that matches you will vibrate into your vibration. This is how the law of vibration works. And so karmic partners, beautiful. I mean, they might be kind of brutal in the fact that it feels like being in a washing machine, but you're working out a lot of karma over a very short period of time most of the time. And quite frankly, a lot of that karma you're not just working off for yourself. You're doing it for your ancestors. You're doing it for lots of people throughout history that have not been able to do so for themselves. So honor yourself for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Honor yourself for going through this cosmic washing machine that feels a little bit brutal sometimes. And understand that there's no accidents. If you've heard about the twin flame concept and you've misinterpreted it, or you've interpreted it one way and then you graduated to a different level of interpreting it, there were no accidents in either of those situations. You interpreted it the way that you were meant to at that time so that you could process it that way at that time. But ultimately, becoming a sovereign being is a requirement of all souls on planet Earth. And I shouldn't say a requirement, it's an honor, it's a joy, it's your birthright. But it's also a necessity for being able to truly, truly evolve in consciousness, to not be under the guise of illusions, to energetically have unconditional love for other beings, and yet simultaneously be able to honor yourself completely in your own space, your own boundaries. To be completely honest, the level of I've got to plug in my phone, I think. The level of unconditional love that you have for yourself is the limit of unconditional love that you can have for others. As a matter of fact, unconditional love is unconditional. So when you get to that point of unconditional love for yourself, that is the baseline of what you can have for others. I'm going to grab my charger and plug in my phone so I don't lose you guys in a second. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Probably about the least ladylike way I probably could have done that. So sorry. gone away, I promise. I'm still here. I can just see my screen darkening. There we go. All right. So in regards to becoming a sovereign, that is a very, very, very important part of the evolution of consciousness. And so we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about free will, okay? So free will, as we discussed earlier on in this video, free will is not optional. Free will is a requirement of the universe, and when it gets violated, it's taken very personally by the universe itself, but certainly by any higher dimensional beings that really truly understand the flow, the cosmic flow of the universe. So free will is our ability to grow in the way that most suits us individually, our own soul, our own evolution of consciousness. And there's no two souls on planet Earth that are supposed to grow and evolve in exactly the same way. Even if there's basic patterns that really, really benefit humanity and that really benefit your own soul, those are not such cosmic law that it takes out of account that your soul is a growing soul that is different than the other souls that are on planet Earth, and you've chosen a different path for a reason so that you could grow differently. So free will it ensures that every soul is going to be able to grow in the greatest capacity for its own personal growth. Now, that's not a selfish thing, and neither is sovereignty. Both free will and sovereignty have a basis in unconditional love, but they are very, very personal. And in a twin flame partnership, that's basically two parts of one soul that are coming together to create a partnership. And so it's kind of guaranteeing that you almost need to rely on another being while you're also having to learn how to be sovereign. And in addition to that, in the twin flame experiment, in the twin flame collective, you're not just relying on your own twin flame. We're also deeply connected, that we're creating this big, huge torus field all across the Mother Gaia, all throughout the entire planet. And so we've got these two different theories, or these two different things, that one of them is encouraging us to really kind of come into our own and own our own force field and be our own person, while this other one is guaranteeing that we cannot ascend without ascending together. So is that a paradox? Well, yeah, it is a paradox. It is a paradox. We're supposed to be learning how to be our own person while also learning how to completely work with the entire collective, because the third dimension is a paradox. The third dimension is based on contrast. The third dimension is based on polar opposites. The third dimension is based on a story that started with someone eating an apple that was totally against the rules to eat, and yet we couldn't have evolved without that. Paradoxes build gods. Paradoxes are how we grow into the best version of ourselves. Yes, it's a rock tumbler. It is a chosen rock tumbler for purposes of becoming the most advanced version of ourselves. And the most advanced version of ourselves loves ourselves so freaking much, so deeply, so perfectly, so sovereignly, that we also want nothing more than to help others find that same level of self-love, self-comfort, self-joy, self-realization, inner peace. Even if it seems like a paradox, it's a paradox that's designed to create a loving universe, that's designed to help people learn how to be the best version of themselves without being shamed or bullied or told what to do it because it helps them to grow into the best version of themselves and allows the next generation to do the same thing. So I guess the main thing that I would really say with both of these projects, the Twin Flame Project as well as, oh good, I'm glad to hear it helped. Both of these projects are designed to help you grow, and you are pre-coded to be able to learn these things. These are the basis of your soul. Any of the things that go against these energetic principles of unconditional love and teamwork and compassion and cooperation and healing, any of the aspects of your soul that, or not in your soul, I shouldn't say, of you that go against that, are coded into you. The basis of who you are is naturally love, is unconditionally loving. And if in this process you have some of these darknesses and things come to the surface, it's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you got screwed up or you're not good enough and other people are better. It's because you've done such a good job holding it in that it's time to let it go. Release any of the darkness that has been coded within inside of you and honor yourself for everything that you've been through. You are awesome. Whether you're a twin flame or not a twin flame, you have gone on the journey of a warrior, and in the process, you've probably experienced some deep, deep traumas. And you've also probably been taught, if you've been alive on planet Earth at all in the last few generations, how to not process those feelings and how to shove them inside, and that strength is shoving those feelings inside. So if in the process of awakening and learning more about yourself, you start to have things come to the surface that you feel like may or may not make you question yourself, honor yourself for even questioning that about yourself. That makes you a good person. You can let it go. You don't have to shame yourself for these things, but know that just the very fact that you're self-reflective enough to say, wait a second, is this how I want to be? That already puts you ahead of the curve. You are doing an awesome job. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of everything that you've been through, and know that whether you're a twin flame or not a twin flame, you must unify with yourself, your inner God. You're freaking awesome by yourself, no matter what. If you unify with your own self and your own inner unconditional love, and then you happen to find someone else or fall in love with someone else or connect with someone else who you feel like in a way also adds to that, this 1 + 1 = 3 type of combination, that is so awesome. I'm very happy for you if you find that, and know that the twin flame collective or the twin flame experiment or the twin flame concept, to me, I have no doubt about it. I have absolute faith that this is a genuine experiment and process that's going on. It's not just faith. For me personally, for my experience, for my interactions with higher self, higher beings, I know this beyond any shadow of a doubt. But I would challenge you to go look it up yourself. Go find your own information, vet out your own information. I would never ever expect someone to just believe the things that I say, even if it really heavily resonates. If it doesn't resonate, go research it or write it off, that's fine. But if it does resonate, I don't want you to, if something resonates with your heart, I really do believe it's your heart's truth. And yet I still want to encourage you to go research it, because if you start researching things that ring as heart's truth, it's like filling a thirst that you didn't even know you were that thirsty for. Just start drinking it up, take in all the information that you can and learn what you can so that you can see which aspects resonate with you. And in that process, you're going to be dumbfounded at how much you're going to learn about yourself, how much you're going to remember about yourself. And who knows, maybe in the process, you might just realize that you're pretty freaking amazing and worthy of unconditional love. Anyway, I love you all. If anybody has further questions, feel free to PM me. Feel free to comment on here. I'm sorry if there were questions I wasn't able to get to because I can't read that tiny writing on my cell phone while I'm doing this. But just know that you are never, never, ever, ever, ever alone. You are so loved. You are so supported. And we are about to watch this planet grow in ways that we've all only dreamed of. But it's going to be a dream come true. Love you. Bye.